Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Rollan Roberts, and I'd like to welcome you to today's empowerment session titled Success Stories with guest January Jones. Ms. Jones is a syndicated talk radio show host with over 50 million listeners. She's an author, humorist, she's an expert on John F. Kennedy, and a motivational speaker. January is the author of 5 books that are available at Amazon.com and Audible.com, including Oh No, Jackie O, Jackie, Ari, and Jack, The Tragic Love Triangle, Thou Shalt Not Whine, The 11th Commandment, we're going to be talking about that a little bit today, Priceless Personalities, Success Stories shared by January Jones, and the Christina, the Onassis Odyssey, Celebrities, Courtships, and Chaos. So Thou Shalt Not Whine, the 11th Commandment, is based on a survey of the top 10 things that people whine about the most. And it actually reached #1 at Amazon.com. So please join Ginga Baby's Vice President of Empowerment, Drea Bauer, as she and January discuss success stories. Drea?
Thank you so much, Rollan. Hi, January. So glad to have you on the call today. I'm so glad to hear about this because I know we all have like our nitpicky things that kind of tick us off and irritate us, but Thou Shalt Not Whine, I think that's such a good premise. So I'm excited to hear about your book. And why did you write a book about whining?
It's an interesting story because when I started writing the book, I had just been picked up by a New York publisher. And we were discussing my next book. My other books were about the Kennedys, so I wanted to do something in a different genre, do something with humor. And at that time, I felt there was a whining epidemic going on. People were whining about whining, and everyone was just all into whining. So my publisher suggested I do a book on the top 10 things that people whine about. And I thought that was a pretty good suggestion, so I started working on it, and it started with a survey. And the survey went out to all ages, at all stages. We went from cradle to convalescent home to find out what people whine about. Turns out each age group had their own top 10 list. I mean, there weren't just 10 things that people whine about. Everyone had their own agenda and their own things that they were upset about. So the book kind of took on a life of its own. It took over 2 years to get the results from the survey compiled, and we ended up, I think, with 13 or 14 chapters in the book. It was a big success. It went to #1 at Amazon.com, and it's kind of one of those books, I call it a waiting room book or a gift shop book, because you can put it in a doctor's office, a lawyer's office, and each little section is so short that people can pick it up, read it, put it down. You don't have to make a big commitment to it. So it's kind of a humorous, it is a humorous book. It was totally written with humor. And we have over 100 cures for whining. And some of them are just, simple common sense. And then others are quite funny.
Was there something when you did this survey that struck you and you were like very shocked that people were this into whining about that thing, or did you really kind of expect the results you got?
No, there were some surprises. There really were surprises, because when you get into 10 things that a person, a different woman or man are going to whine about, it's interesting. The big question that I get all the time on this book is, who whines more, women or men? So that's the big question.
Who whines more? Tell us.
And not to sound sexist, but the reality is, unfortunately, women do whine more than men. They're born with the DNA whining gene, and the reality is most women would speak over 7,000 words in one day. And most men, unless they're on talk radio, will speak only 2,000 words a day.
Wow.
So just by virtue of the quantity of words spoken, women have more opportunities to whine. Now, what do women whine about? Well, that's an interesting thing. Women whine about personal things. They whine about their weight, their hair, their mother-in-laws, their husbands, kids, lack of money. Well, everyone whines about lack of money, but women whine about things that are closer to their home and heart. Men, what do they whine about? Well, interestingly enough, Men prefer to whine about things that they actually can't do anything about. Men tend to whine about government, politics, the economy, a lot of whining about the sports teams, also lack of money, and, the golf game and stuff like that. So it's interesting how it goes. Everyone, people ask me about whining, and sometimes it's okay to whine. Sometimes you need to do it to get things out, to resolve things, and to get back on track. The things that we make fun of are the compulsive whiners, the people who whine because they just want to get attention, or they just want to irritate you. And those people are out there. The cure for whining men, well, you know what Bauer said. She said if it has testicles or tires, it's going to cause you trouble. Which is a very sexist thing for me to say. What we do with whining men, it seems that the best cure I've come across is if they're whining about something, you divert them, you change the topic, and the best way to do that is to ask them about a sport, how their team is doing. Change the topic to sports.
Sounds like much like what you do with the child. If they're not happy about something, you divert their attentions.
Exactly. I'm that sweet. We're treating men like it's children. It's totally effective. And my favorite cure for whining women is, and I talk about this on my radio show every day, every time I close out the show, it's the chocolate cure. And if a woman's whining, all you have to do is put chocolate.
Well, if you're going to give me chocolate, I might start whining.
Yeah, that's definitely. And then, kids are big whiners. Kids and whining go together like peanut butter and jelly. They can whine anytime, anywhere, about anything, as long as they're pretty sure they will embarrass their parents.
So I like what you said about, sometimes there's a need for whining. And maybe we wouldn't even call it whining. Maybe we'd call it venting. Or I do think that we don't want to suppress all of our feelings, but I do agree we also, don't want it to be a constant habit that is rewarded so we continue to do. So what's your cure for it?
Right. Yeah, there's actually a chapter in my book, and it's called The Pity Party.
Oh.
And this is a chapter I wrote, and I was a young widow when I was 25 years old.
Wow.
And
Sorry.
My best friend was there for me, and we had a pretty long pity party after that event. And she was there to just listen to me and console me and be there for me. Then later in life, she went through a horrendous divorce, and we had another pity party, and I was there for her. The thing about a pity party is you need to just choose that one special person that will give you unconditional love and support and not judge you. And you don't want to spread it around to everyone, because then people just don't want to be around you. And then eventually down the road, she had terminal cancer. And at that point, we had pretty much a 3-year pity party. So in some instances where there's illness, divorce, death, whining is perfectly acceptable. It's a form of therapy, really, and it helps people get through some of the most difficult things in their life. But as I said earlier, you just have to be very selective who you invite to your pity party.
I see. So you want to whine or grieve, but you don't want to bring too much energy to where it takes on, I guess, a life of its own. So you just pick that one person that you're closest to so that you can express it so that you can move on.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's a good example for your children. They don't want to be raised by a mother who's a whiner.
Yeah, and we don't want our children to be whiners. So what can we do to encourage them because we want them to also be able to express their emotions, but we don't want them to be a whiner and, throw a temper tantrum in the store because they know they'll get what they want that way. So how do we avoid that?
Well, with whining, I always say that it really helps when you're dealing with a child. Distraction. Change the subject.
Yes.
Approach the situation. Is your cup half full or half empty? You have to be positive. You know, I did a radio show just actually last night, and we were talking about how your emotions create the thoughts that you send out into the universe. And if those are positive thoughts, that's what comes back to you. If you're creating negative thoughts, it's turn around, it comes right back to you.
I think
when you're dealing with children especially, it's very important to be positive. It's also very important to be playful with them. Have fun with them. And when they have a situation, encourage them to figure out how they can laugh about it and how you can turn things around. And it's just, a simple thing. It's just a matter of attitude.
I agree, January. I think that like attracts like. So, whatever energy you send out, it's a boomerang effect. It comes back. So I totally agree with you. You want to be careful with what you put out to the universe, to other people, because you don't want to distance those people that you want in your company. So I think that's a great point. So,
yeah, and you have to always look at it this way with your children. Eventually, at some point in time, they're going to go away to college or the military. So this too shall pass.
When do you think it is not appropriate to whine?
Well, I think it's never appropriate to whine when it's the only thing you do. I think it's just a real drag. It's too negative. I think that a lot of times it's the whining. It depends what your motivation is. I write. We did a big survey part about what baby boomers whine about, and baby boomers are pretty big whiners because they all want to be winners, but they turn out to be whiners. And I think the big problem there is they're part of the instant gratification generation.
So an expectation, they have an expectation for certain things, and is that the problem?
Absolutely. Yeah. Even if they don't know what it is, they want it, and our world has changed so much, really, really changed. There's so many more opportunities for whining. A good example of that is Comedy Central. All of that comedy, basically, from Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert and all of them, is based on them whining about current events, politics, and they make it pretty hip and cool to whine. Of course, they're being paid a lot of money.
Right. So if we recognize that we're whining or someone close to us is whining, how do we redirect them? Do we say, oh, look, there's a pretty bush, or this is great weather we're having, or what's a good technique that we can redirect with ourselves or other people?
Well, it just depends on what age group you're dealing with. You have to find something to distract people, to change the subject. And it just depends, as like with a small child versus dealing with a senior. Seniors adore whining about their health or the lack of it. So I think you have to take people who are older into a different direction. And one of the most effective things to end whining is to talk about something in the future. Give them
I like that.
Something to look forward to. And this works at every age, children and older people.
I've heard that. I've heard that with suicide patients. That's one of the things they do. What do you have around you that you love? What are you looking forward to doing or going to? So I think that's a great strategy. I like that a lot. So January, this has been absolutely incredible. I would love to know where we can get more information on you, where we can connect with you, how we can buy the book.
Wonderful. My website is www.januaryjones.com. All of the links to my books are at my website. All of my books are at Amazon. They're all in Kindle form and ebooks, and now two of them will be audio books at audible.com. I'm on the radio, iHeartRadio, and I'm on, I guess 15 times a week. So anyone who wants to listen to me, just tune into iHeartRadio. My show is called January Jones Sharing Success Stories, and that's my passion. I love sharing other people's stories.
January, well, we've loved hearing from you, and thank you so much for the words of wisdom, and I can't wait to check out your site. You have a great day. Enjoyed it.
Okay, it's been quite an experience. I hope we can do it again, and I look forward to having you on my show.
Oh, that would be great. Bye-bye.
Okay.